Okay, so I'm Bryn. Today, we're going to be talking about part 2 of our marketing series. So in the first call, we talked about real-time marketing, some outbound marketing features. We got up to about like lead scoring, and then didn't really dive into it all, this third area here, which is for event planning. So goal for today is obviously to just touch a little bit on event planning. We're going to do exactly the same thing as we did with real time and outbound. So we're not going to get into every single little detail. So without further ado, we are actually not going to start out in event planning. I do want to stay here in the outbound marketing just for a little bit as sort of a segue. So we're going to jump into talking about marketing forms today, which are right here along the side of our outbound marketing. Just like in every area of marketing that we've talked about so far, we have a ton of great templates in here for marketing forms. We'll talk about a little about what they are when we get one open, because I think it should be pretty obvious once we get it in here. So there's a lot of great templates. You can also skip and start from scratch, just like you can everywhere else in marketing. I'm going to go ahead and just select one of these templates so that we save a little bit of time. Select that here, and this is going to load our form editor. So really what this form is for, you can see it probably looks familiar to something you've seen 100,000 times. This is how we're actually getting our contact data, our customer data, event registrations, download for a white paper, all of that kind of stuff. We're actually going to be, for our purposes, hosting this form on our website. You can also do that with a portal, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the future. But we're actually going to build that form piece here within marketing so that we have a lot of control over it. It's going to link directly to our Dynamics 365 data. So our contact records, our lead records, all of that. But we're going to build it out here in the marketing app itself. So up at the top right-hand corner, you can see up here, we've got a couple of different options. So we can give it a name. Again, I would probably give it some better naming conventions than Form S44. I'm going to just call this like basic info form for right now. And then we have a couple of different form types that you'll see here. So there's actually 4 form types that are available in marketing. One of them is event registration. So that takes a different form type entirely. So we won't see that option here, but just so you know. So we have event registration. We also have a landing page. So a landing page is really good for like if we were going to have an area on our website to enter your information here to download this white paper, to get this one sheet. Anytime that we want to get more information from a customer, enter your details here to, to sort of self-select to receive some information from us. The other option that we have here is for a subscription center. And our subscription center is going to be we talked about that a little bit last week when we talked about our marketing emails. So this is the actual page or the actual form that people are going to enter their details in order to opt in to receive different types of content or opt out of other types of content. So subscription center is just a little bit different. We also have an option to forward to a friend. So you'd see that, for instance, if I had filled out a landing page with all of my information to download a one sheet or whatever it is, that kind of action that I'm taking. And then I get that site, that pops up, share with a friend, forward to a friend. So I can go ahead and have a redirect that comes after this information is filled out that says, okay, great, thanks for your information. Enter a friend's email here in order to forward. We can also put these into emails as a link. So if I say, oh, this is some great information, I love this newsletter so much, I want to forward this info to a friend, get a friend to sign up, that's what this page here is for. So I'm going to just go ahead and leave it at landing page. Most of our forms are going to be landing page types. You'll really only have the one subscription center, most likely, and you might have a couple situations that are forward to a friend, but for the most part, we're always going to have a landing page. You can also choose which type of record this form is going to be targeting. So for instance, if somebody fills out this form on my website, do I want this to create a new contact record or update an existing contact record? Do I want to have it create a new lead record or modify an existing, or do I want to have it target both? So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it at both for right now, and we'll see why that matters a little more in a second here. So if we look at our editor here, it's very familiar to our, it's very similar to our email editor that we had looked at last week. Drag and drop, we have a lot of sort of like basic elements I can bring in, play around with. I can create links, very, very similar to our web editor from last week. I do have, though, down here at the bottom, a few more options that I didn't have before. So this is unique to building our web forms here. You can see based upon what I selected, so my contacts and leads is what I'm targeting, or if I had targeted just contacts or just leads, these are going to be all of my fields. They're going to show you some basics right here up at the top. But I have access to any field that is currently in my environment for either a contact or a lead record. If I don't see, these are some of the basics that I have here along the side. Fax number, definitely important to get. But I can also add any fields that I don't see here. So if I go in here, I can hit enter. This is going to pull up all of the rest of those fields. So this is everything that I've got in my contact record or my lead record that I could bring in to pull from. I will have access to my custom fields in there as well. So if I have custom fields that are on either of those tables, I can pull those in, no problem. You also see here, I have an option for something else. So one of the great things about building your marketing form here within the marketing app is that I can actually create some new fields for my forms right here within the marketing app without having to go to necessarily like a system administrator, or if I have a third party that manages my D365 sales environment, field service, customer service, anything like that. This will create a field on the back end as well, but it's not going to make that visible on the front end of any forms. So I could create a new marketing form here for instance, if I was creating like an event registration, I could create an event registration here and I could ask for something like dietary preferences if I'm having an event that has a lunch. So I'm going to ask here for dietary preferences. If somebody is vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, I could have a little drop down box for that here. That's most likely not something that I'm ever going to want to or need to see again on my contact or my lead records. But it does exist. So it'll be available in the back end if I did want to report on it, if I want to pull it up for next year's event, anything like that, just have it saved to my contact details, I can. But it will appear here on my form. So right here, when people go to my website to register, they'll see that dietary preferences field, they can make their selection, and then that will feed back and save to my data in D365 across the board. So that is pretty cool. It's a nice option to have there. I can also, and it's just a drag and drop. So if I want to drag and drop over salutation, that's great. I also have a few more options over here on the side. Have our first name here and our text is grayed out for first. I have the option here for some placeholder values. So if I wanted to put in here a first name, so that's going to show up on the website. They can clearly tell to enter their first name in that line. I don't need a first name or a placeholder value. I could just leave that blank. They won't see anything in that box. I also can give it default values. So for instance, if I wanted to have that dietary preferences field that I was talking about, I could create that dietary preferences value and just have it set to whatever I want the default to be, none, maybe. And then I have a couple of different options that they could drop down and do there. I also can set these different fields as required, yes or no. Quick tip is that if there are any fields that are required for you to create either a contact or a lead in the system, best practice 100% make it required here as well so that we don't encounter any errors. You can, if there are required fields, for instance, that like lead source. Say I had like a lead source field on my lead record that is required for every single lead that comes in and it's created. I'm obviously not going to have like my customer, my contact, fill out a lead source field, right? But what I can do is I can add that field to my form. I could set it to a default value of website or whatever it is, and then I could hide that field. So I could go ahead and just select hide. It's not going to appear on my form. It's going to be hidden. You can also do this on your site with script, but this is a really nice, easy, no code way to make that happen. I can also select pre-fill for any of these fields. So for instance, if I already know, if I already have the information in the system, who is visiting my website right now, they enter their email address here. I've got their information already. I can go ahead and just pre-fill, autofill the rest of these fields. That's really nice for somebody. Let's say this was like a subscription center and they're going to come in to change their preferences. I can just autofill from their email to their current preferences so that they can go in and make changes and see what already exists rather than just fill out a blank form. So that's a really nice, really nice feature to have as well. Let's see. Other than that, we have a couple of options here in the summary tab that I want to just touch on briefly. It does look like a ton of information in here. Again, there's only a couple of these options really that are going to be most important to us. The main, I can change my name here if I want to make that a little bit more detailed, which I probably would. I can give it a purpose. This is a customizable field. So like, what is this form for? Contact matching or lead matching strategies that you see here. This is very similar to like our duplication rules or deduplication rules that we have in D365 sales, for instance. So by default, it's going to match on email address 1. So if I have a contact who goes to this form here, enters their details, and I already have somebody with that email address, it's not going to create a new record. Instead, it's going to update. Maybe their salutation has changed. Maybe their dietary preferences have changed. It'll go ahead and update the existing record instead of creating a new one. Very similar for lead form matching as well. I also have a couple of additional options that I can do after the form is submitted. So for instance, if somebody were maybe subscribing to our newsletter, I could enable double opt-in and they could get an email sent to them. I would attach that right here. They'd get a nice email sent to them saying, you've said that you wanted to subscribe to our newsletter. Click here in order to make that happen. So that's a situation where I would want double opt-in. For right now, I'm not going to play around with that too much. I also can choose how to say thank you from double opt-in. So if I wanted to redirect them or open the web page, I could do that. Submission behavior is most likely, though, where we're going to focus on most of our web forms. So I can give them a nice little thanks for your submission after this form is entered. I could also have it redirect back to my homepage or back to my event page. I can choose to I could give them like a nice little picture, big thumbs up, link that to a URL. I also can choose here what to do with errors. So if there's an error during the submission, if they don't enter all the required fields, if something goes wrong, where do I want to direct them? What do I want to have them do? So those are all some really great tools that we have for working with these marketing forms. So that is just about that with marketing forms. Now that I've got this set up, what do I do with it? Right. So right now it just lives in marketing. So I can spend a lot of time customizing this form. How do I get it in front of my audience is a great question. So just like everything in Dynamics, I would have to go live in order for this to be available in other areas of the system. Let me go ahead and see if I can. First, I'm going to go ahead and save. See if we can go live with this form here. And just while this is saving, we did talk about this a little bit last week as well, but there are two different ways, right, to set up marketing. When you're first doing your initial setup, you can either choose to have your marketing hosted on a portal. So if I selected portal, Dynamics would spin up a brand new portal environment that then I would have that's going to have all of my marketing pages, all my marketing forms, all of my event information, all located on that portal. Best practice, however, in most situations is going to be to set up marketing based on your own domain, so on our actual website. And when that's the case, I'm going to actually just have to take this piece, connect it to just a page on our website. And then that has a lot of benefits itself. So not only is it nice because we can just embed it into our website, we can use all of our native branding. So my website, I already have template pages with all of my Azamba logo and my footer, my site navigation pane, all that kind of great stuff. And I can just insert this right in there. It also is nice because it's going to bring in traffic, right? So we've got traffic on our website rather than traffic heading into a portal for any reason. We're going to have a lot more control over our look and feel, things like that. So if I were, I'm going to go ahead and hit go live. If I were using a portal-based marketing app, when I go live in my form hosting area, I would essentially just have a link here to that portal page. It would give me an option to change my link URL text. So if I wanted to say basic info form as part of my URL string, I could edit that here. But it would just give me like a nice little link where I could see that on my portal. It's there, it's done, it's posted, it's ready. If, however, like my marketing app is set up, it's set up to link to a domain. You can see here, I don't have any available domains. That's a little bit of a misnomer. I would go through and just go ahead and create a new form page. I'm going to go ahead and just I'll just let it have its basic name. But this is what's going to actually generate that text or that JavaScript for me to be able to host that on my web page. So we'll let that save. I'm going to create a nice little string of text here for us, and then we can talk a little bit about our submission info that we get back. There we go. So if I open up this marketing form page here, all I would do, I could either choose to host this as a script, or I could also host it as an iframe. I'm going to use it as a script. So all I would need to do here is copy this text and either put that onto my website, onto a blank page or somewhere where I want to see it on my website myself, or forward that to whoever manages my site for me. So once that's done, I'm going to be able to see that form exactly as it appears here. And so every form that exists, every form that gets published or is posted anywhere, we're also obviously going to want to see the submission data. So once this form is live, we have people on the web or on the portal filling it out. We're going to be able to see all of our submissions as they come in here. You can set that up to either store them or to just see the ones that are currently pending. Mainly the information that we want to see is going to be here in our insights. So our insights are really useful to have because it's not just going to show us those like one-off submissions. I can see my submissions, yes, but I can also see how many records were updated. So if I have 50 submissions and it updated 49 contact records, I have one unique submission, right? I have one new contact that's been created. How many lead records, exact same thing. How many records has that updated? If there are any errors. I can also see on a grid view here, when were these submissions made? It's going to give me a timestamp on all of these. It'll give me a link here to my actual contact or my lead record. I could open that up, take a peek through. I also can filter for dates. So if I want to see only the people who entered their data in the last maybe 5 days, so I can go through and create different lists for different purposes that way. I can also check my visits. This is very cool. So not only do I want to see my submissions, I can see maybe that I've had 100 different submissions to this form, but I can also see if anybody came to the site and didn't submit their data. So if I do have their information in the system already, I could see who that is. Is it a contact that I have in the system? Is it not? So I can see if somebody's coming to the site a lot, or if a lot of people are coming. If I have tons of visits, 1,000 visits, and only 50 submissions, maybe I want to take a closer look at my form and why it's not performing the activities that I want it to perform as well as I can. So that sums up marketing forms for us. The other thing that I want to take a quick look at before we get into events is right over here for marketing pages. Marketing pages, very similar to marketing forms. So we're not going to walk through the entire process here. It's really similar to what we just did with marketing forms, but there are some additional options here, especially if we're using like portal-based marketing, or if we want to build out like an entire website page with our marketing team rather than on our website. We can do that here. So this is really nice if we have, say, like if our site is managed by another party and we want our marketing team to have the most insight and influence over the information, the look and feel, everything of that page, maybe they're low code or no code. We could have them build that out here and host the entire page rather than just the form on the website or on the portal. So again, lots of templates here. You can see I've got like some spring sales templates. I've got couple of other options here. And these are very similar to if you ever work with any kind of like website builder templates, they're all available here. Definitely situations where it might be useful to use one of these rather than, I'm just going to go ahead and say select. You're sort of like out of the box website builder or maybe your IT team. So very similar, like I said, you can drag text over, very similar to building our forms, also very similar to building our marketing emails. Just as with our marketing emails and with our forms, you can also edit the HTML here directly. So if you do have a team that is capable or interested in editing the HTML directly, you have that option here. Same option to preview. You can preview on different devices all down the line. We also have the same listings up here at the top, just incidentally, different types. So we have our landing pages, our subscription centers, our forward to friends. So if you do want to design based on that type of template, you've got those options in here. So marketing pages, again, very similar to forms. You can embed a form. So if I wanted to say, spring sale, be the first to receive our discounts, and I wanted to embed a form asking for your first name, your last name, and your email address to be able to receive those discounts directly to your email, I would just go ahead and insert that form right here. So obviously, other scenarios, you can also put in maybe like an event page where I could talk all about my different event details, maybe some pictures and bios of my guest speakers, really anything that I want to be able to show information to my customers or to my audience. And then the form is how I want to collect their information back. So this is going to work the exact same as well. So if I were to publish this and go live, I would just take that script either that I created and have that hosted on my own domain, or it would publish directly to my Dynamics marketing portal. So I'd be able to see that there. All right, so that brings us up to date on our marketing pages and our forms. Very good segue to get into our events area, because a lot of times when we're creating events, we're creating marketing materials around our events. Things like these marketing pages where we want to direct people for information, or the marketing forms where we want to get information back from them, are going to be really, really, really important to that process. So I'm going to go right down here to the events area. Go ahead and just discard my changes for now. And just like with the other areas of marketing, as you can see, once you get into events, there is a lot. You can tell it's pretty comprehensive in here. Again, just like we talked about last week, it might seem a little overwhelming off the bat. Don't let it overwhelm you. Most of us are probably not going to use a lot of these areas, at least right away, right? So we want to start small. We want to build our skill set. We want to spend time in our areas that have the most immediate value to us. That's, as we talked about last week, it's likely marketing emails and customer journeys to begin with, but depending on our organization or depending on our priorities, our current internal needs, it might also mean using marketing to create or to assist with managing events that we already have for our business sooner than later. So, for example, I'll throw out Sandy here. So for example, Sandy does a really good job hosting our different partner events currently, right? So she has these calls that she does with a bunch of different partners. Everybody gets on, gets a lot of information. It's great. If we were just getting started with marketing, and our primary focus is on maybe like building our newsletter subscriptions or doing a new product push around CRM in a can, anything like that. Sandy can just continue her usual order of operations when it comes to those events, right? She can keep creating meetings, manually tracking her list of attendees like she's doing now, and she does a great job. So she can just keep on keeping on until we feel really comfortable with those key areas of the marketing app. However, if we did have a situation come up, right, where Sandy needs to maybe plan a big in-person event, or she needs to dive into a new project and start streamlining other areas, maybe we need Gordon or Jason or myself or somebody, right, to jump in and kind of take on some of those responsibilities for Sandy. We have the ability using marketing then to kind of very quickly, really easily automate those processes, give Sandy some time back on her calendar, and have more of these automations kind of pre-built to handle those conditions. So we've got a couple of samples up here at the top. And these screens can be really customized also as we're looking at these. So if we need more or less information for events or for like specific event types, for example, um, we can hide some of these tabs, hide some of these areas, add some additional fields that maybe we're not collecting data on here in the system. So they are fully customizable. Some of the most important information though that we're looking at is going to be right here on this main summary page. So we can see what's the name of my event. That's great. I've got a name, half done. I also have event types. So these are just the out of the box fields. We could change these around as well. These are not going to do anything to the actual like experience when you're going through, like if you're signing up for a new event or if you're attending an event. This is purely an internal field. So this is just for us to sort with, us to have that information on. But in terms of like how the event flows or how the event is managed, this field has no bearing on that whatsoever. So this is just a training for now. I can also see my registration count. So this is going to trickle in from our website or from our form information. I can see how many registrations that I have coming in immediately. I can see them as folks register within about 10 minutes or so. I can also see a check-in count. So as the event's going on, if it's live, if it's going on over a couple days, I can see how many people have actually made it to the event versus how many are registered. My scheduling, so I can say when I want this event to be. Probably not 2017. I would probably want to kick that a little bit into the future. But I can also have an event countdown here. So if I did want to say maybe like 2024, it's going to give me a notification here that my start date can't be out of line with my end date. That's fine. If I hit save, it's going to give me this nice little countdown in days. So that's helpful too. And I can also have different triggers, right, based on this event countdown. So if I wanted to say in a flow, right, like once the countdown in days reaches X number, send this email or take this action. That's a really nice feature to have here too. It's also nice just to have in front of us when I open this record. How much longer do I have to go before this event? It's always a smaller number than you think it is, right? We can also set up recurring events. So if I wanted to toggle this on, I would get a lot of, this is very similar to like when you're looking at Outlook. I could go ahead and set how long is my duration, when is this recurring, how many occurrences that I'm going to have of this meeting. It's going to give me a lot of those fields here. I'm just going to go ahead and just leave it a one-time event for now though. We also have, I'm going to skip this over here on the side, but we have some other options here for location. So if this were an in-person event, I could, I have a lot of different tables for managing that information, buildings, floor plans, occupancy, all of that information, room numbers, all of that is going to be in here. So I could, in terms of a physical location, just put it in a building. I could select different rooms. I can have a lot of that different information available here. I also have venue constraints. So if I want to say, all right, I know that I only have room for 50 people, I can put an event capacity on here. I can also waitlist it, yes or no. So if I want to waitlist after 50, it's going to create some nice waitlist options for me here. If I don't want to waitlist, it's just going to say, I'm so sorry, registration is closed. So those are really nice for options for when we're having in-person events. If our innovation hour live events even, we're like breaking the internet because we just have way too many people trying to come in and it's just freezing everything everywhere. You can also put an event capacity on a virtual event. It doesn't just have to be a live event. I'm going to go ahead and just remove that option for now. I'll come back to this in a second here too, but what we can also do across the top in these different options, let's say that we are having an in-person event or a conference or even like a virtual event over a couple of days. You can put your agenda details right here in the meeting. So I can have different sessions I can book in here. Again, this works just like Outlook. I can put different sessions in here, different information. What's the title, start time, end times, where are they, what are they about, how many people have registered for them. I can also set up different tracks. So I could have like a marketing track or a CRM and a CAN track at maybe our Azamba conference where we have a lot of different people come in. But I can have a lot of different session tracks. I can have ongoing sessions at the same time. I also have the option to list different speaker details. So if maybe Peter is doing a keynote speech or Jason is going to speak about, current things that he's been building out, or Tony's going to talk about our different easy projects or different easy items, right? We could have different speaker information, different sessions for all of that. You can also list out your sponsors. So if you've been sponsored by an organization, you want to keep that information somewhere, right? CRM, this event record is a really great place to do that as well. I'm going to skip over this website and form and come back to that in a second, but just to look here at our registration and attendance. So as you have your registrations come in, you can have our event registrations percolate down here. You can also manually add new event registrations. So if I just get a phone call from Sandy and says, "Oh, we have this partner who wants to sign up," or if I just know, like I want to make sure that Gordon is registered, I can come in here and just add a new event registration without needing to go through a website of any of that kind of stuff. I can also track my responses, check-ins, anyone who's canceled. So if I want to have maybe this be a segment that's going to send out a "sorry, we're not going to see you this time" message in our customer journey, I've got a list of those contacts who canceled right here. I also have this additional information section. This is really nice when we were talking about things that we can customize. These are just like out of the box financials, things that typically people are going to want to be tracking when it comes to their events, but this is customizable too. So if there are other things that we want to see, we can add that in here if we don't care about our cost of event activities or external, budget allocation. If we're going to do that somewhere else, we don't have to track it here. We could remove it. But financials are usually pretty good to have some additional information on. We also have a ton of other areas that we're not going to look through today. But if we wanted to do room reservations or hotel information, block allocations, speakers, all that kind of stuff is in here. So you really do have, the sky's the limit when it comes to information for your tracking. The main thing that I really want to look at now is I want to go back to this area and touch a little bit on online events. So everything that we've talked about so far can be applied to both online and virtual events. We're most likely though, like for Sandy's calls, we might have a brief agenda, but we're probably not going to be collecting like a whole lot of sponsor information or a whole lot of different session tracks for these calls, right? But we might have an agenda to put in here for that instance. We also have the option. So just like we talked about last week, one of the great things about marketing is that it interacts or it interconnects, right, so seamlessly with our Office 365, with Power BI. We have a lot of different options. It also connects really, really, really well with this just out of the box Teams integration. So if I were to stream slash want to make this a virtual event, all I have to do here is toggle this to yes. And need to refresh here. All I have to do is toggle this to yes, and it'll give me a couple of different options where I have a nice little pop-up. But it's going to allow me to create a few different options. So I can either create this event as a meeting, just like a regular old Teams meeting. I can also create this event as a live event. I could also create this event as a webinar. So I have a lot of those different options here that I'm able to do that here for. Very, very nice that we don't have to pop around to like a bunch of different, here it is, they're loading. We don't have to pop around to a bunch of different areas. Like I don't have to go into Outlook and create the meeting and then come back into the event record and give all the details here. It's literally just going to create it right here for me. I can also choose, so it's going to create it as a webinar. I can make it a meeting, a live event. I can also connect to, if I had like a third party, if I had like a different meeting hosting software that I want to connect to, you can set that up there custom. But yeah, so it's gonna create that automatically. So when I hit save, let's ignore that for now. But when I hit save and this actually goes live, there it is. We've got our Teams URL. So this is the actual link to our meeting that's been created. The second awesome thing about having the Teams integration here for events specifically is that if I were to go into my customer journeys and build out a customer journey where, let's say you go to my web form, you enter your details. Bryn, I would love to register for your event. Here's all of my information. I could kick off a customer journey where I say, okay, everybody who submitted that form, I want to send them like a save the date, or I want to send them the email invitation, right, to the actual online meeting. The link that gets put in, so if I were to go back to like outbound marketing, what I'm able to do with marketing is I can actually create a brand new marketing email. I'm just going to open an existing one here. But I can we've got like some early bird registrations. I'm going to go ahead and edit. I could use the save register now button or like attend now. So thanks for coming to the event. Okay, scroll on down here. Maybe this is like our join now button. Come to our meeting. It's so great. It's happening at this moment, or, whatever it is. So this text here, what I can do to edit this link is I can have it linked to a URL. I also can have it linked to Teams or to an event. So I can say join in Teams. I want it to connect to an event, and my live events are going to be listed here. So when I select a live event and I go ahead and update that record, every single individual person who has received this email is getting a different link that goes into this join now box, so that when I, Bryn, click it and I've joined my Teams meeting, in my actual event record, it's going to show up as a check-in. So for now, like if I were to say host a meeting and I have 100 different attendees, or 100 different invites go out, or 100 different registrations, and only say like 65 of those people come up, I have to somehow manually or via a flow, right, go through and find out who were those 65 and who were the people who didn't come. Whereas when I'm creating an event in marketing as a Teams event, right, I can automatically have those check-ins ticked right off. So I don't have to wonder about, who's there, who's not there. I'm going to have that information automatically show up here on my check-in count as soon as somebody clicks that link to join the meeting. So that is very cool as well. One of the main things that I think is so great about this area, we've got like our website here. This is what we would link to either that event registration form that we filled out, or that we created over in the outbound marketing area. We could link that right to here. If you're using a portal, if I go ahead and say custom URL, I could just paste that form in there. If we're using a portal though, let's go ahead and go to one of these live forms. It will automatically just publish an event page to your portal. So if I look at my website and form here, you can see this one's published right to a portal. It's going to give me that site. And I can open this up. This is very standard Microsoft portal. I can see the name of my event, when is it, any information, session information that I had here. I also have my register now that's going to take me to my pre-built form where I just enter my details. If I had any payment information that I wanted to enter here, I could do that, go ahead and check out, and then that's going to create a new registration record for me. So that is very nice to have also. And your actual form that you hosted on your website would be very similar to this. Just because I have a demo version, right? It's only going to allow me to show the sort of like what it's going to look like from the portal end, which is fine. This is really nice though, because we can also use that data, not just here on the record, right? So that's great. I can see on my record for my event who has registered, what's going on. I can see all that information here. That's great. But just like with everything else in marketing, this registration information, this event information is also going to feed back to my contact records and to my lead records as well. So that is very important, not just to us, but also to like our sales team or to our customer service users, things like that. So um, it gives them a lot more information on the actual lead record itself to say, okay, well, how much is this lead interacting with us? How much is this contact? Oh, great. Dan has registered for another event, or Dan has canceled from another event. How much information can we get from our event records and from our other areas of marketing to our sales team or to our other areas of our organization to help with our lead flow, to help with our close rate, to help us even to kind of have like just better informed conversations with our customers overall, just by opening up like their contact record, scrolling through, seeing the kind of different activities and things that they've had with us. We can also have a lot of different like automations based around that. So um, have folks been like attending our innovation calls? Like, have they been visiting our website? Are they opening our emails? Are they thinking about different products? Are they looking at different products on our page? How much time are they spending interacting with us? That's all great information for us to have, not just in marketing, but also for our sales users to have and for the people responsible for actually like closing those accounts, right? So that information, it's really nice to have on the contact record. It's really nice to have on the lead record. We also, and we talked about this a little bit last week, are able to use that information to build out some very cool automations. So if I have, for instance, I have my different actions that I want folks to take, like if they've come to an event or if they have opened a newsletter, clicked a link, spent a lot of time looking at a product, that kind of stuff. I can have that as a condition here. I also then can have my toolbox assign that like a point value, basically. So if I wanted to say, somebody like attended a conference, that's great. Maybe I want to give that a 10-point value, or maybe I want to give that a 50-point value. It doesn't really matter. The numbers are arbitrary as long as we're putting them in. So I want to give them 10 points. I also can remove points. So if somebody, for instance, like unsubscribed from all of my like all of my content except for promotions, like maybe I want to give them a minus on coming up with like a lead score to come to an event, that kind of stuff. So I can plus or minus different point values. I also can set my own specific grades, right? So if I wanted to say I have a sales readiness score, when somebody gets to 50, I want that to be to kick off some sort of automation. Somebody gets to 50, I want to send out an automatic task to my sales team. Somebody give this guy a call because we've reached 50 points. It means that he's really hot within the last, say, 3 months. Maybe he's opened a newsletter, he's clicked some links, he's registered for some events, he's spent a lot of time browsing different products. That's all great information to have at my fingertips, but more importantly, it's more important for my sales team to have that information and to be able to act on it. So maybe I want them to give a phone call. Maybe I want to set up an automation that sends out, if I know that maybe Dan is clicking around looking at a lot of different information on CRM in a can, but like isn't taking that next step. Maybe I want to put that as part of my lead flow process or my sales process to have my customer journey send him an email specifically about CRM in a can with a promotion attached or with a some different options for add-ons and things, because I know that he's really interested and his sales readiness score is already this high. So I can give different grades here as well. Like I could have like a hot is anywhere from like 40 to 50. I could also have new grades that are like, say, warm, and say that that's anybody from 25 to 40. And then maybe I just want to, let's say 20. And then I want to have like a cold grade, right? That's anywhere from 10 to 20. And I can have these be time bound as well. So if I want to say, maybe Dan has clicked some links in our newsletters 100 times, but over the last 100 months, like that's not too impressive. But if he's clicked that same amount of links, like over the last like 6 weeks or 3 months or week, even, that would probably bump him up into this hot. I could assign different point values for that. So these are all really good building blocks, right? They're building blocks. They have a lot of great capacity. Events, our emails, our customer journeys, even our segmentation are really great building blocks. We can use them for a lot of insights to get a lot of data back. We can use them to help inform behavior, but we can also use them as sort of like starting points for some really great automations that are going to take some big burdens off of our sales team, off of all of our users, really. Like we talked about Sandy and her events. So we can use this to take the sort of burden of labor off of a lot of these areas really effectively and really efficiently with marketing. And if that means that we start out from the very beginning using all of these tools, or more likely, we start out small, we build our skill set, we get comfortable using these different tools in these different areas, and just see how they're working. I think that's one of like the greatest benefits of marketing, because there is a lot to it, right? But you don't have to necessarily dig in, like jump off the high dive, right? From the very first day. So I think that brings us up to just about all that we wanted to talk about today. Oh, we do have some questions here. We've got Gordon. So it's going to go to the question that you had. Does the link go to an Outlook event too? Yes. So that Teams event that gets created by our like virtual event when we're creating those in marketing, it's going to sync to your Outlook calendar just like a regular Teams event would. Does that make sense? So it's literally the exact same as if I had gone into Teams and created that meeting myself. Um, does it integrate with Teams calls into a way that I can tell if a registered person attended or not? Yes, it does. So it will integrate, that's that specific link, right, that we're putting in the email or putting in for the join button. I can see who attended based on their registration. You also can set it up just like you can with anything in Teams to allow like anonymous, if I wanted to allow anonymous participants to join, you can do that. But if the registered individual is registered, if they click that link, absolutely, I can tell if they came in or not. Email blocking scenarios. Dinesh had a really good question about talking about email blocking scenarios. I think that that's a really good one if we're going to have a call, maybe talking a little bit more about like subscription lists. That would be a really good question to dive into. So I'm going to leave that one for now. I know it's a lot to get through in a short amount of time, so I really appreciate your time and your participation. And yeah, had a really great session. Thanks, guys.